authors, and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? I'm your host, Wendy Jo Cerna, and we are jumping into the new year with the second half of Season 2. I hope you've enjoyed the interviews with the authors in the first 9 episodes in this season. Wow, what a treasure trove of wisdom, experience, and practical tips. But don't turn off those listening ears just yet. There's more to come in the months ahead. So hop on board for the second half of Season 2 of So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? I'm convinced you're going to find exactly what you need to help you obey the call of God on your life to create the book He has given you to create. Hey, if the author and finisher of all things told you to write a book, He believes that you can. And so do I. So come on, let's write. Hello, authors, and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? Today we are on episode, 16 of Season 2, and we have a real treat in store today. We have with us an author who's lived all over the world, and she is not only an award-winning author, but a screenwriter as well. Welcome to the show, Nova McBee.
Thank you, Wendy. I am so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. We've met through Northwest Christian Writers, I think, is where our paths have crossed the most, but we don't know each other super well. I've read all your books. I enjoy them immensely. She is the author of the Calculated series. I have the stack of them here right now. Calculated, Simulated, and Activated are the first 3 books. But book number 4 is on the precipice of being released. True?
Finally, yes. I've gotten so many crazy DMs like, give me that book yesterday. I needed that yesterday. Yeah, sorry about the cliffhanger. But
Yeah.
yes, finally it's coming out. I'm so excited to share this book with the world. It is so beautiful. I hope people enjoy the ending.
Oh, good. Because this is the last book of the series, true?
For now, yes.
Aha.
I mean, you'll read it and you'll understand what I'm doing. But
Okay.
yes, it is the 4th book. For a while, I will be done with the series.
Yeah, and it's entitled Liberated. The Mystery is Real. When does it come out? When is the release date?
The release date is June 30th.
Okay. So we've got a couple of months to anticipate that. But if you haven't got her first 3 books, get caught up, read the first 3 so that when June 30th hits, you're ready for Liberated. Because it's a real treat. They're YA books, true. That's what the category is. But honestly, they're super interesting. You have an international background. You've lived all over the world.
Yes. And the books are something called YA crossover, means they can cross over into the adult genre.
Got it.
So they're not for younger teens, although there's nothing inappropriate. It's just the subject matter is more mature. You know, there's economics, there's billionaires, there's smugglers, there's trafficking, nothing graphic, there's romance, there's math, there's science, there's just all the things. And so I wrote it for a very wide audience, knowing that I have lived abroad in so many countries and so many different territories. I was like, I want to piece all my life, this international Mission Impossible type adventures that I've lived. But I want it to relate. I want it to be relatable to those cultures that I lived in, but also a lot of different ages. And that was really hard to do, but intentional. I was like, what are teens going to like? What are adults going to like? What are men going to like? What are women going to like? I think that's a big reason of why it was optioned for film and why it's in development today, because the producers were like, this hits all 4 quadrants of society. And it's not just entertaining, it's deep.
Yeah.
And so they said that's what makes a really strong property. You know, you've written for a wide audience. And that's been true. You know, when I look at my reviews, I'm like 10-year-olds up to 80-year-olds.
Yeah.
And men and women, boys and girls. I have teen boys being like, dude, I love these books so much. All my boys read them. And I'm like, wow, and then I have 45-year-old men being like, I binged your book in a night. I'm like, whoa, and my agent and I often joke that my true target audience is middle-aged men, which is not true.
Right.
But it's just that it really does resonate with all ages. It's multi-generational. And
Yeah.
and that's something that I love writing. I love piecing together cultures being partners, different generations being partners, because that's reality. I don't think you're supposed to just partner with your age group. That's just totally ridiculous. And you're not friends with just one age. Like I have friends that are 80 and down to 15, it's like
Right.
I have a wide range of friends that I deeply connect with.
Yeah.
So that's what I tried
Yeah.
to do with my books.
And you've succeeded beautifully in that.
Thank you.
So we leapt right into, okay, this is being optioned for film, but let's start back in, how did you even start with this journey of writing? Because you've lived a lot
Mm.
of life prior to getting to being an author. So what was it that sparked you to say, I'm going to write a book?
Yes. So that is the craziest part. It's like even growing up, I considered myself a writer, but
Okay.
I never thought about writing a book.
Hmm.
Never. I was a writer because I loved writing. I wrote songs, poems, journals. I wrote obviously essays and short stories in school. I was even told I was a great writer in school. I was sent to this writing thing in Washington, D.C. They thought I would be a journalist. I found
Uh,
out no way would I be a journalist. I was
okay.
like this. I don't want to interview other people. I want to live this crazy adventure of a life.
Yeah.
And, some people have to live before they write. That crazy
Yep.
statement was like, why do you sit down to write when you have not stood up to live?
Yeah.
By David Thoreau.
Yeah.
Like that statement is like truly my journey because I always was creative, always wanted to be a writer, but never writing a novel. Like in my view growing up, and I've shared this at a lot of conferences because this was legitimately my experience. You're not told you can be an author in school. Those are not jobs you apply for.
No.
Like
True.
you go to the doctor and you see you're in that industry. You see the doctor, that's a job, and the nurse, you see it. But when you
Yes.
go to the library, you don't see authors at the library. You just see books.
Yeah.
You don't it was disconnected. We didn't have Instagram. You couldn't like find your favorite author.
Right.
And it was like book events were a big deal when I was growing up. And so nobody tells you you can be an author. Like
Yeah.
nobody told me. I had no clue. I was like, this is just like you just read they're dead and you just read their books, like
That's true.
C.S. Lewis.
Yep.
It was like they're gone and we just have their books. Like the Bible, it's just
Yeah.
like they're just there.
Yeah.
And so I never thought once about writing a novel, even though I
Huh.
was published by my university. My travel stories were published by my university. I wrote stories. I just never thought about it until I was living in the middle of China and I was reading these novels that were hugely affecting me. I'm like, these are so powerful.
Hmm.
These speak, they tell the truth. They say something powerful, and it's actually more powerful because it's in a story,
Yeah.
And it was just like you could grasp it. And I was living in a place where you couldn't really necessarily communicate truth
Huh.
openly,
Right.
you know? And so I was sitting there and I was talking to God, and I felt like God said, I want you to write novels.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? It took a journey because it actually happened before he said it first. And then I started thinking about the why. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I get it. Like, why? And for me, that was a whole nother journey to be like, did I hear you?
Yes.
Did I
Uh-huh.
hear it? Was that you? And now I look back and I'm like, man, the minute I said yes, and there were so many crazy confirmations we don't have
Yeah.
time for. But I look back and I'm like, I am so glad I said yes
Yeah.
because the journey to here to where my films are in production. I have published books. These books have won awards. They're going into 6 different languages. They've gone so far. And I'm just like, thank goodness I believed when I had nothing, when I saw
Yeah.
nothing.
Right.
And I didn't even have a background I did not study writing. I had to learn it all on my own. I was living in China. I didn't have money to go to a master's school. I don't think you need those, by the way. I had to learn everything on my own. I created beat sheets before I even knew what a beat sheet was
Huh.
because I was like, if God says this, then I'm going to do it well. I'm going to
Yeah.
actually learn how to write a book and I'm going to learn how to do it well. And I practiced for a very long time before I ever once tried to be published. And then something else that I did, which I highly recommend to other writers, is not only practice your craft until you can be a contender in your industry, but also learn the industry so that you're not
Mm.
going in blind. And
Yeah.
those were the two things that I did side by side. I was like, I'm going to practice the craft because that bestseller that has an audience, that's the audience I want.
Yeah.
I want I have to be as good as that. So
Yeah.
how do I get there? And it is literally just like you got to practice. And then I studied the industry. How does publishing work? How do agents work? How does this work? I went in, I did the work, and it was all from China.
Yeah. So you actually
So
started writing in while you were living in China.
yeah. And that's interesting too, because my first book is set in Seattle in China, but
Yeah.
I didn't write that for years. Years. I wrote so many books before that book. But the first book that I thought, this one has something. Like I think it has something. And I started showing publishing professionals that are like, this, you're ready. You're ready for the industry. Like this is a breakout novel. And that was Calculated. So
Wow. So, okay, so when you say I practiced, what does that
mhm.
mean? You actually wrote full books prior to writing Calculated?
Oh, I did so much, Wendy. That's a whole master's class right there. So, I did go on to university master's, syllabuses. Like, what do they do? And I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
it
yeah,
all. Then I went into like every blog of every writer that had any advice, and I did everything they did. I did everything they said to practice. I
yeah,
practiced. I looked. I researched books I like. I tore them apart. I researched how did they set this up? How did they do this? How did they make me like this character? What was the insight? Like I broke it down over and over. And I started with short stories to longer stories to novellas to novels. I was like writing, how do I do this POV? How do I do, like every type writing books. I devoured writing books. I did every single practice they said. I revised. You can't imagine. It was like, the Matrix where it's like you plug in the head and you're just like,
yep,
that was me for years. And the thing is it was so cool because I feel like like again, this is not a job you apply for. It's either in you or it's not.
yeah,
And if it's in you, there's a reason and you have to get it out of you.
yeah,
So once I realized I was supposed to write books, it was like the ideas were endless. I just
mm,
had idea after idea. And so I practiced all of those ideas. And it was a really fun time of my life because I would, instead of giving somebody a gift, I would write them a story.
ah,
Like this is me and you in fantasy form. And it was so hilarious.
yeah,
And for my 28th birthday, I wrote an entire play
huh,
and we performed it for my 28th birthday. And they
oh,
said, what do you want
wow,
for your birthday, Nova? All my best friends came together. I said, I just want us to perform my play. And they're like, let's do it. And it was the funnest thing. And so you got to play, you got to have fun. Like we're doing this. I mean, because it brings us joy, right? And
yeah,
if it's a calling, it's even more important to perfect your craft and get that, if God is asking you to be a writer, there's a reason for it. It's going to bless the world in one way or another, and it has a purpose. So I just was compelled, highly motivated, even when I was in the midst of having babies, nursing, sleepless nights, you name it. It was a compelling thing that woke
mm,
me up in the morning. Like
yeah,
I look back and I'm like, I don't even remember that time of my life. I don't know if I had brushed my teeth, brushed my
right,
hair, got dressed. And
yeah,
yet I was writing full books. I was writing Calculated during those days.
huh.
And it was just a fun and now I get to teach. Now I teach writing all over and it's super fun.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. So Calculated, you get it to a place where you show it to who? Who do you show it to when you've got it to a place you think, okay, this is
That is
ready
a
for
funny
somebody to,
story.
yeah,
That is a very funny story because again, I did not want to enter the industry until I knew I could be a contender. Like, I was like, I'm not going to jump in until I know my books can contend with the best. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to just sit there and put out a novel that isn't good, that
Yeah.
doesn't, And so when I had one writing teacher in my life, and I showed him, he was the first person, and he said, listen, I think this is super, super sellable. I think it's super commercial. Like, this is good. You have to get an agent now.
Huh.
And I was like, okay, that's just one opinion. I didn't even really believe it. So I was like, yeah, okay, all right. And I was like, I just need another opinion.
Yeah.
So then I took it to a conference and I
Okay.
wanted to have it critiqued. This was my
Yes.
very first conference. And so I wanted a professional critique. And I happened to be the very last person that they critiqued in the conference.
Yeah.
I get to the conference and they say, you know, I've read all the critiques of this entire conference and you are the best.
Hmm.
And I was like, huh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but I was like, still, that's just one opinion. And this is a very small conference. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So, and then they said, well, if you don't believe that, you should send it to this ex-Penguin Random House editor, because if her critique will really tell you if it's
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, actually, I really want that opinion,
Yeah.
And so I sent it to this editor who did, critiques. And she was former Random House editor. And she writes back, this is the best book to cross my desk in 5 years. And
Wow.
I'm like, well, that's positive.
Yeah.
But I still didn't believe. I was like, I still wasn't sure. I was like, that's just one editor's opinion.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. But at the time in China, I was part of this critique group that was pretty brutal, to be honest. They were pretty
Yeah.
brutal. They were like, they did not hand out compliments. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just this random like book club from all over the world.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what, God, this is where I'm going to ask you for the final confirmation.
There you
This
go.
is the final confirmation. If this group says I'm ready, then I'm really ready, right? Because they were pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And you could submit your book for a critique from the group. And the next week, so I submitted my book to them. And we were going to critique it the next Wednesday. So the whole week, I am like anticipating Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. I'm like, this is the final word. This is
Yeah.
the final word. So, and I go there just like ready.
Yeah.
I walk in, I go to the huge table where we usually meet. And I've been there for a year now. And we meet like clockwork at 8 o'clock. So I'm sitting at the table and it's like 8, and I'm the first one to arrive. 8 o'clock, 8:05, 8:15, still no one's there.
Yeah.
8:20, no one shows up. And I'm like, what's
Uh-oh.
going
Yeah.
on? Like, this is so crazy. Like, this is my final word.
Yeah.
What? Like,
Yeah.
no
Come
one's
on,
here.
people.
8:30, still no one shows up. This has never once happened in a year.
Hmm.
In a year. And I'm just sitting here going, what does this mean? Right? What does this mean? And so I was like, I guess that's my like answer. Like, I'm just not ready. Like, this was supposed to be the final word. And it's just like, I'm not ready. And I was super disappointed. Called my husband. I'm like, listen, no one even showed. Like, this is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like not waste my time. I'm just going to try to work on a couple things and then I'll come home. Right. So I moved to a different location. I'm super disappointed, just sitting on this couch, trying to focus. And, and then all of a sudden I see this girl from the book club, like still in pajama type clothes, running in. And she's like looking around the cafe and then she spots me and she runs over and she's like, I was in my bed and something compelled me to get out of bed and come here because I knew you were going to be here. And I have to tell you, when you sent me the book, my computer was broken, so I didn't want to read it. My phone was cracked on the screen, so I didn't want to read it. But something made me open it. And I couldn't put it down. And I had to get out of bed to tell you, this has to be published. This has to be in every library. This has to be in every school. This is so good. I couldn't stop reading. And I just
Wow.
was so shocked because God knew I didn't need the group's opinion. I needed one
Yeah.
opinion, his opinion. He didn't let anyone else come.
Right.
And the one person that shared his opinion, he got out of bed. She's like, I
Yeah.
was literally in bed. I was not coming tonight. Something compelled me to get out of bed to tell you this.
Mm.
This is good. It needs to be published. And so I was like, I just sat there like
Okay. Yeah.
in awe of God.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't need the group's opinion. I
Right.
needed his
That's
opinion.
right. That's
And it
right.
was so powerful that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm ready.
Yay! Here we
And
go.
so, yeah, so that I just have so many of those stories that it's just like God is in our writing journey. He
Yes.
really is. He's going to encourage us, he's going to guide us, and we just need to trust that.
Yeah. But I loved how you waited on him. Like you didn't rush into this with guns blazing of, I got the best novel in the world, ready, go. You're like, no, I
No.
really need to hear from you. And
Yeah.
then wait and wait and wait until finally he's like, no, come on already, Nova. I'm trying. Here we go. So then you get that word. And what do you do with it? Where do you go with that book that you know is ready to go?
So then I went into polishing the book even more
Hmm.
and finishing it, polishing it. I got a bunch of beta readers
Good.
because again, I wanted to make sure. And thank goodness my community is a reading community. And so I had so many offers of people to read. I
Yeah.
had so many critique partners at that time. And it was so amazing. You know, when you have a large group of people reading, you start to understand who the readers are. Like you have
Mm.
logical readers, you have emotional readers, you have this. And every piece of feedback made my book better. Like,
Mm.
you know, I was like, wow, this person is super logical and they're seeing it from this perspective. I was like, but that makes sense. So I have to change a couple things. And this
Yeah.
person is like, I can't feel this moment. You know, I'm like,
Mm.
okay, you know, or
Yeah.
like I just started to understand what a diverse group of readers needed and not just
Yeah.
one type of reader. And that
Yeah.
was, again, such a good process to go through. So I did that. I probably had 30 people read my book
Yeah.
and give me their honest thoughts. And then I
Yes.
revised it again. And then I had already researched a ton of agents
Mm-hmm.
and how to query. I'd already
Yeah.
written a bunch of queries. And that was also a crazy story.
Yes.
I got the first time I ever queried within 30 minutes, I got my first full request from the biggest agency in America.
Wow.
Yes. And
Dang.
now I'm yes, like I'm like, apparently I am on fire. Um, now for the listeners, I did not get an agent for 2.5 years, but it was like that proved to me that when you do the work,
Yeah.
there will be results.
Yeah.
And I got requests right away. And not just from this, because I did 3 sets of queries, the new agencies and new agents, the mid list, and then the biggest. Well, guess who? The only people to respond to me were the biggest
Huh.
requesting the books. And I just felt like it was a confirmation of God saying, you've done well. You
Yeah.
have done the work.
Yeah.
And that I'm confirming that you're on the right track. You're
Yeah.
doing good.
Yeah.
Even though they were, you know, couldn't take me on for different reasons or whatever, because, you know, for any writer that's listening, writing is full of rejection, full of opinion. Like that's part of the job in the
Yeah.
arts. I also work in film. So
Yes.
you're just going to get rejection is just part of the deal. And you have to get used to that. It doesn't mean anything, really. It doesn't
Right.
mean anything. You can take some feedback from it, but it's not meant to stop you. And if it does
Right.
stop you, then you're not ready yet. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah. And I also think, okay, so I have a background in theater arts, and so much of that world is about rejection too. But filtering rejection through the lens of the person who is actually making the decisions, when you realize, oh, they're not rejecting me because I'm bad or I'm not
yeah.
talented or I'm not good.
Yep.
It's that they don't have room for me, what I bring to the table in this particular cast. Okay, move on. Next.
Totally.
It's not even It's not even personal. So no, so in
It's
the
not
publishing
personal.
industry, they just don't you don't fit into their slate or you don't fit into the whatever it is they're doing personally, their calling or whatever, and you can't take it personally. That's
It's
at
so
least
true.
my opinion on that. Take it or leave it, but that's what I've experienced.
Yep,
Okay, so you
I
finally
agree.
get an agent. And then what happens?
Well, a whole nother round of revisions. Though I feel like the
Right.
revisions never end.
It does
Because then
feel that way.
my agent had an opinion on like, well, I think these things need to be cleared up. And I think you need to cut a few words here. And so we did a whole round and she's very editorial. And I really love my
Yeah.
agent. She's an amazing woman, really loyal person who's cared way more about my career than I could have imagined. You
Wow.
know, she's not just agenting me, she's also introducing me to conferences and writers, and she's just constantly opening doors that are
Yeah.
not in the job requirement, you know.
Yeah.
And then she's editorial. So we did a round of edits, and then we made a list of where we wanted to submit the book, and then we started to submit the book
Yeah.
to, yeah.
And you got picked up by who? Because you traditionally published this at first. And
I
who
did.
published it?
So we have to go back to the crazy era of COVID because we started pitching during COVID.
Oh, that's fun. Excellent. Yeah.
It was not fun. It was the
No,
worst.
exactly.
It was the worst because there was also a lot of culture wars at that time where
Oh, yeah.
diversity was like, if you're white, you can't write about this. And if you're black, you can't write about that. And you can't do this. And there was just so much cancel culture. That's like right when cancel culture was coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So my book is a white girl who's in China.
Yeah.
And I had some really huge big five publishers saying, hey, we really love your book, but we're in this age of cancel culture and we think that we could be canceled because of your book.
Wow.
And if you look back at that time, it was like it didn't matter what race or color was writing. If they were writing outside of their lane, they were getting canceled.
Yeah.
And then I have an Asian friend who wrote a Russian inspired fantasy, totally canceled. And it was like I had a black gay friend, no less, who wrote a fantasy world in a Kosovo type world, and he was canceled. This was like
So crazy. Yeah.
everybody was getting canceled, and it just made no sense.
Yeah.
And so that was a really hard season to query. First of all, no one was even picking up books because I don't know
Mm,
if you remember this, but like boats were sinking with full books. The paper supply was like being
right.
cut off. No one
Right.
knew what everybody was like, we're really like in a transitional, like we don't know what's going on. So
Yes.
we're not picking up books right now. So it was a really like, okay, well, what are we
Huh.
gonna do? You
Yeah.
know, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna wait for the season to be over? Well, then a publisher contacted me through some the producers that I know. They said, "Hey, we heard about your book, and we have been wanting to launch a young adult imprint for the last 2 years, and we have not found a strong enough title. Do you mind if
Mm,
we read your book? We'd love to read your book and see if it
yeah.
fits."
Yeah.
And we were like, "What's the harm?" You know.
Yeah. All
So
right. Yeah.
we sent it to them and they came back. They're like, this is super strong. We want to make it a lead title. We want you to launch our YA imprint. We love it. We don't care about cancel culture. We just care about good books.
Yeah.
We are digital first. We'll still do printing books, but we know how to sell digital books. Please let us do this. And my agent and I were like, let's do
Mm,
it.
yeah.
So, and it was a great experience. They were really, really awesome partners. They sold a ton of digital books as well as, hard copies, paperbacks
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. And then my agent got us a separate audio deal with recorded books.
Okay.
And then because of the lead imprint, because of all the marketing, my books were getting picked up by booksellers and libraries. And I was marketing to libraries and marketing to booksellers. And I had a huge marketing campaign before I ever signed with a publisher. That's another
Wow.
thing I encourage. I encourage all writers. I had an entire marketing plan before I had a publisher, and I took my plan to my publisher. I said, here's all the awards I'd like to be submitted to. Here's the bookstagrammers. Here's the tours. Here's the trade reviews I'd like. Here's this. And they're like, whoa,
Dang, girl.
no one's ever submitted like an entire marketing. And Being prepared it really helped launch my books in a very successful way. I got great trade reviews. And like I said, I got awards. You can't win awards unless you submit yourself to awards
Right.
or I mean,
Yeah.
technically
I saw
the
that, that
public.
whole list of awards. There were ones that you targeted. You
You
said, I
can't
want
submit yourself, but my publishers submitted
your
those.
publisher submitted those for you, but you looked them up saying, I'm interested in those. Could we please submit to those?
So I had a whole list that
Okay.
I was like, I think my books actually fit the requirements for these.
Yeah.
And then they came up with some of their own as well.
Okay. And that was all in 2022 is when all, is that true?
2021,
2021 is when you're
mhm.
starting, but all the awards I see are listed are 2022, at least the ones on your website. You probably have more since then, but
Yeah, I can't
2022.
remember, but yes.
That's just your website. I looked at it last night. So, yeah, that's interesting because I just very recently started looking into the whole award world. Like, this is a good marketing thing to do to get it in, at the very least, get it in front of a lot of people who are going to read at least portions of it.
Well, and so when I was again going into researching the industry, I realized you can't even get into some conferences unless you have awards, unless you have
Ah,
trade reviews.
okay.
So for me, when I was doing my research, I was looking at the best and I was like, okay, they have trade reviews,
Yeah.
they have awards, and why?
Why?
So I was like, why?
Yep.
You have to have those to get into libraries. Like if you don't have a professional trade review by Kirkus, School Library Journal, Book Buzz, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you don't get into libraries or you didn't.
Yeah.
Now it's easier, right?
Yeah.
Now all things are changing. Like self-published people, if they have good sales, they're going to get into libraries.
Yeah.
Even 6 years ago, 7 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Huh.
So for me, it's about doing the research, and the research is different now.
Yeah.
You need trade reviews. Booksellers, libraries, they trust those. So I knew I have to have these.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they could have given me a terrible review, but you still have to commit
There
to
is
them.
that. Yeah. That
Thankfully,
risk.
I didn't. I got great reviews. But I encourage everybody to submit to some kind of professional trade review because you can use that when you are marketing to libraries and booksellers and
Yeah.
conferences. It's just that extra confirmation, like, okay, you've done the work. You're not just a self-published person who
Yeah.
published on a whim,
Yeah.
or some small press that doesn't know what they're doing. And to
Yeah.
my former publisher's credit, they were like, great, we agree.
Hmm. So that was just calculated. Did you have the other books in mind already working on them? What was the journey like for the rest of the series?
That is another funny question because I calculated was so hard for me to write because I didn't
Hmm.
realize writing a math prodigy would be so difficult, when you're not a math
A math.
prodigy.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you think, and the thing is you can't write about a prodigy and then have a simple plot line, or
True.
else it's just too ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so writing that book was incredibly difficult. And I was like, I'm never writing in this series again. This is one and done. This is going to be a standalone. I am so finished. I can't wait to like go back to my fantasy. I write a lot of fantasy, but
Yeah.
like, but one of those big agents that requested my book, I lived on this compliment for a long time. And I've shared this story before. She emailed me. This is a couple months of me querying. Like I had so much encouragement on that journey. She read my whole book and she wrote me back and she said, listen, I can't take you on as a client because I am booked. Like, but
Yeah.
I have to email you back. I have to email you because out of 10,000 queries that I get, your book stands above the crowd.
Wow.
And she said, I'm writing you because I believe in this book and your potential. So I'm going to give you an edit letter.
Okay.
And so she
Wow.
gave me an entire edit letter. She goes, if you do these things, your book is going to be 10 times better and you're going to succeed. And she took the time and literally her email, like I don't know how many times I reread it. Like I lived off that email because
Yeah.
when you're getting rejected, you have to go back to stuff like that.
Yes. True.
Um, it is true. And she said, she gave me the best advice and she didn't have to take her time. It must have taken her a lot of time to write that. It was a
Yeah.
very tight email. And she said, listen, in a nutshell, she said, this book is a little too long. You need to tighten it up so the pace will be faster. You need to
Yeah.
cut 20,000 words.
Yowza.
And And if you've read my books are fast paced.
Yes,
I
they
learned
are.
it because of her, because of
Okay.
what she challenged me. She also said, you need to cut out a little economics. She's like, you're going overboard. So I did. I did. So now it's
Yeah.
like perfect mix or
Yeah.
balance. And then she said, this book, you ended it, but you need to rewrite the ending so that it's open ended. She said,
Ah,
this is a character that people will want to follow. It is
yeah.
not a one and done. You need to go back and write a new ending
Mm.
and to make this book open ended. And I was just sitting here going, that is the last thing I want to do.
uh,
But I respected this woman. And
okay.
I respected that she took the time to do this and I felt the heart in it.
Yeah.
And so I just sat there. I'm like, well, what would I do to make this book open ended? And then I came up with the most genius ending ever, and which is what is now the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And what it ended up leading to was two books that I love even more than Calculated.
Mm. Wow.
And so like I just think about that woman and I
Yeah.
thank her so much
Yeah.
because she that's like I feel like greatness is pushed. We're pushed into it. We don't just naturally walk into it. We
Yeah.
have to be encouraged and sometimes pushed and to go from good to great, right? And she was trying
Yeah.
to push me. And she's like, "Look, this is good. This will make it great."
Right.
And so it was like, okay, well, and it requires work. That's the thing. It costs something. You gotta do the
Yes.
work. It's not natural. It does take the faith, the risk, the work, all the things. So I did it. And what came out of it was just so beautiful. And now I
Hmm.
have a series because
Yes.
of her. You know,
Wow.
and here's the crazy part. After my producers read Calculated, what is now
Yeah.
Calculated, they said, listen, this is a series. This is a character that people will want to follow. Have you written book 2, book 3, or book 4 yet? And I'm like, they said 4 books. Like, I didn't say 4
Ah.
books. And they're like, have you written the rest of the series yet? And I'm like, no. And I only had small ideas running around my head, like
Okay.
I had
Yeah. Yeah.
jotted
Yeah.
them down. But the thing was, it was the repeat of the agent. They're like, this is a
Mm.
character people will want to follow. You
Yeah.
need to write the rest of the series. And they said,
Wow.
if you do, we will option them. And so they
Ah.
technically optioned 4 books.
Wow.
And well, I mean, technically, book 1 is already purchased. They already bought the
Yeah.
rights. It's
Okay.
already in
Right.
development, it's going into production, all of the things. But they literally after they read book 2 and book 3, they're like, this is franchise. We love it. We love these characters. We want to see them on the big screen.
Yeah.
They deserve a global audience. It was like, that's kind of crazy for an author to hear.
It is.
So,
It's like they
mhm.
prophesied. They prophesied to you without
Yeah,
saying, "Oh, thus saith the Lord." They're prophesying to your future. Because their words
yeah,
are like opening doors in your heart and your mind that are moving you forward. I mean, what else is
it did. It
prophecy
gave me
but
a lot of
that,
faith.
Yeah,
I know.
that's
Well, great.
wild.
Well, and then the pressure of like, well, now I have to make them good. I have to
Right?
make them better. So
Yeah.
again, doing the work of trying to make the books progressively better.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. Those books, simulated and activated, I feel like are even more me.
Hmm.
And I got to grow even more as an author.
Yeah.
And I just love them. Like I want to live in those books.
Uh, yeah. Well, you do, and you live on in those books. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of books. All right, we're flying out of time here. My goodness, Nova, so much to talk to you about. Um, so when you hit obstacles in your writing, as you've talked about, there's constantly things getting
Lots.
thrown in your path.
Mhm.
When you go back to the Lord, are there scriptures that help you or that have unlocked it? How do you overcome those obstacles? Like you have to go back in and like it says in where was it? Second Samuel or something, where David had a huge crisis and it said he went and encouraged himself in the Lord. Even though
Mm.
everybody was against him, he went and
Mhm.
encouraged himself in the Lord, got a word from God to say, no, go
Mm.
back and you will recover all, is what he said. But when you
Mhm.
hit those places, what does that look like for you? How do you encourage yourself?
I mean, I think that's really it. I mean, I don't write without the Lord. He is in every chapter. He's with me at every moment, and we are one as we
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
And it is a constant receiving his word. And, when you have those words, that's when you go back to them. And I have lots of those words. When you do hit obstacles, you go back to, what did God say? He said this. Okay, then we're moving forward. And what does he say on a daily basis? If
Yeah.
you're actually having a relationship with the Lord on a daily basis, he will encourage you. He will speak powerful things. He will give you the truth. And he is such a sweetheart because
Yeah.
he also gives you those physical encouragements where you're like, I just really need an encouragement. And someone will email you and be like, your book is the most fantastic thing on the planet, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he knows how to spiritually encourage you, but then also in the natural encourage you with things that you just need at that moment. And
Yeah.
it's like if you were to read my daily journal, it's like those words are every day because you kind of need them every day. It's like he is our water, he is our food, he is our breath,
Yeah.
he's our strength, he's our joy, he's our protection, he's our strength that gets us through those obstacles. And it's literally, I don't think I could be a writer without him.
Mm,
For me, there's no purpose without him either. So I'm
right.
I'm doing it with him, for him, through him, and all of those
And
things.
to him. And your
And to,
books are not, I mean, they are not overtly Christian.
they're not Christian. I didn't write them to be Christian,
Right.
but I think God is a great writer. He's he's helped me, or at least he inspires me, and
Yes.
he's inspired my life. I have a lot of adventures around the world, and he inspired a lot of those. And so, yeah, I didn't ever want to write Christian books,
Yeah.
but I wanted to write powerful books that have
Yeah.
purpose and that are not fluffy books. And
No.
I get some fluffy books are great. Sometimes you just need to fall in love and laugh.
Yes, that's
And
true.
and that you just need those too. Some books you need to make you think and to make you brave and to make you fight and to stand
Yeah.
up for what you believe in. And those are good too.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to write this series specifically like that. It's the ones that are going to push in, like, who are you? Why were you made? What's your purpose? How do you use what's been given to you? What happens when you're knocked down? And who's around you? It's like I wanted to put all of those powerful themes into this series. And
Yeah.
so you need to take from what you've learned. So
Yeah.
whether you're a Christian or not, I feel like
Yeah.
good writers do draw from what they've learned.
Yeah. All about identity and
Mhm.
tenacity and all those things. So
Yeah.
now you have what it's called Aurora Creative Talent. And
Mhm.
this is for screenwriters. How did you
It's
make
not
that
for
leap?
it's not for screenwriters. It is
Okay.
my
Okay.
my writers' room of screenwriters that I run.
Okay.
So it's not like open for anybody.
Yeah.
We are a group. However, now all of my screenwriters from Aurora Creative, we are now partnering with Y plus X Entertainment. So, and I was invited to be the chief creative officer of Y
Oh,
plus X Entertainment. So
okay.
I accepted this position. This was a really special thing. I'm not like necessarily called to film, but I am called to story.
Yes.
And they saw that I was running a group of screenwriters who had a specific mission of getting really awesome, powerful, adventurous stories into the world.
Yeah.
So we adapted books that we thought were beautiful
Mm-hmm.
or powerful or funny or romantic or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they're not Christian again. And we are Christians, but we're not adapting Christian books, right?
Okay.
And this CEO, her name is Vivian Yen, she looked at all of our IP and she's like, these are amazing. These are
Mm.
so good. Like these stories have to be made. How about
Yeah.
we partner?
Okay.
And this journey of partnering with her launched into she is an incredible woman, and you should totally invite her onto the show one day.
Okay.
He was the CEO of Fremantle Studios for 5 years. That's an international studio that did some of the biggest franchises on the earth in all different kinds of territories, right?
Okay.
Before that, she's from Shanghai. She was the executive producer of Star Media and Shanghai TV, these kinds of things, doing just the youngest producer doing the biggest things.
Wow.
Just super incredible woman. Hollywood called her the most powerful woman in global media 2 years in a row, or
Oh
one
my.
of, one
Yeah.
of.
Yes.
And, but she moved to Seattle.
Oh.
And for the second half of her life, felt called by God for the second half of her life to move and partner with Americans to make film. And then she met
Hmm.
me.
Wow.
And it was not on my radar
Yeah.
to become like a chief creative officer, to fill a creative pipeline. And
Yeah.
she said, I want to make film, TV, and I want to launch our own streaming service for
Hmm.
vertical films so that we can get a bunch of stories out and have this audience. I don't know if you know anything about vertical film right now, but vertical film is basically films that are made for your phone, right?
Huh.
Vertical. You watch it vertically. It's like these shows are being produced all the time. People are binging them. The numbers far outweigh the box office and
Yeah. Yeah.
Netflix and all these things. They're just like people are binging on their phones. And Vivian said to me, she said, "Hey, listen, if this is where people are binging, why don't we give them something good to eat?"
There you go.
Because right now the binging is really cringy. Like
Yeah.
these shows are
Yeah.
pretty cringy and bad, but your stories are good. What if we launch our own streaming platform and give them the stories you're writing?
Yeah.
These stories are inspiring. They're going to walk away
Right.
feeling empowered.
Yeah.
And so my team was like, well, this wasn't the time, we weren't ever intending to write vertical film,
Yeah.
but we learned and we said, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so we started partnering with her. So you will see, you can totally, if for any viewers, go to yxentertainmentgroup.com and you will start to see some of the stories that we've
Okay.
written and that are coming out. And LumiView is the name of the streaming app. We launch in August. Please sign up for the newsletter. Please get on the app. You're going to find some of the most fun, beautiful stories ever. But they are told in a vertical storytelling model, which is not
Okay.
like traditional feature
Right.
films. It's
Right.
it's different. It's like the graphic novel to the novel. They're told in a faster beats.
Uh-huh.
They're told in a faster pace because they're designed for your phone, so they hook you in a different way. They still tell a full-length story. It's just different. For us, that's step one. So we're like,
Mm.
let's tell it in a vertical way. And if this one becomes a hit and we find an audience, let's make it into a feature.
There you go.
Let's build it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is the end all be all, but she is incredible. She's a
Yeah.
woman of action. She's a woman of integrity. She's built an incredible app. You guys, it's gorgeous.
Hey, tell me
It's
the name of the app
amazing.
again. What's the name of the app?
LumiView. Lumi
L-U.
is Lumi. It
Okay.
means light and miracles in Latin. And
Mm.
so we have launched something called the LumiView and Y plus X Entertainment. Y stands for, remember why we're doing this, and X is unlimited possibilities. So we have a big vision. We've
Yeah.
adapted a lot of authors.
Okay.
We have dozens of beautiful films. We've trained
Mm.
almost 30 writers to be part of our in-house writers.
Yeah.
Um, and we are at the beginning still. Like I said, we launch in August, but we've been doing this for over a year. So
Okay.
we have been preparing for over a year.
Yeah.
And ever since she came to me a year ago and she said, listen, vertical film is going to hit America really, really hard. It's already global. It's already a 15, $30 billion industry. It's like, since she
Yowza.
said to me, it's like doubled. She said, it's just a huge industry and it hasn't hit America yet, but it will. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to prepare for that. I was like, okay. And since she said that, I kid you, once we did our training of our writers and we started filling our creative pipeline, building the app,
Yeah.
Disney, Fox, Legacy, all these studios, Netflix, you name it, all Paramount were like, guess what? We're all going to go into vertical. I was like, she was right.
Hmm.
She was right.
Yeah.
Everybody's focused on vertical right now. It could, I don't know how long vertical is going to stay
No.
around. I don't. Like
No.
it could be like a massive craze and then die. I don't know. But
Yeah.
she's like, thinks it's an irreversible trend. But the
Hmm.
point is, we want to change the game. We want to tell stories they aren't telling in vertical. So we've
Yeah.
taken a wide variety of genres
Okay.
and we have started to tell them in vertical style. So
Yeah.
that's the other side of my life. So
Yeah.
while I write books, I'm still
Yes.
writing books. I have 7 fantasy books all in revision mode right now, 2
Okay.
contemporary and even some spin-off novels and some novellas. So I'm still writing books, but I also write films and fill a creative pipeline. It's a
Yeah.
busy life right now, but hopefully it'll be exciting. And I encourage everybody, if you want good stories, fun stories, sign up for the LumiView app. You won't
Okay.
regret it.
Good advice. Oh, speaking of advice, one final question before we wrap this up, Nova. If you
Mhm.
were going to give advice to an author who's not yet stepped into this world but knows they've heard from God to write a book, what would be your best advice to them? Just starting the journey.
Just starting the journey.
Yeah, go
Well,
back. Think
go
about those
back.
days.
I mean, my journey was practicing the craft because, you can market your book as much as you want, but unless it's good, people are not
Yeah.
going to want to read it. So,
Right.
and here's the thing, even if no one does read your book, but your book is written well, you can still be proud. And also, don't give into somebody else's agendas or
Mm,
what you think the world wants. Write the book that you know God is speaking to you and write it well.
yeah.
And eventually it will find an audience.
Yeah.
I'm not super famous. My books are not Hunger Games level, but guess what? They keep getting noticed
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
The sales keep coming. The word keeps spreading because, and I'm not trying to boast here, I'm trying to explain, when you write something good, it will continue to bear
Yeah.
fruit.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like a good book will be talked about.
Yeah.
And so if you focus on that and it's the little train that could. It's like it can keep going and it
Yes.
can grow into so much more. And but you find those people who don't focus on the craft and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden their books just it's like 3 months after the release and no one talks about it ever again. So
Yeah.
you gotta focus on your craft, find a good community to encourage
Hmm.
you along the way, ask for help. I
Yeah.
am notorious for asking for help. Like we need help.
Yeah.
Um, and if you do need help with marketing, find somebody who knows marketing, and
Mm,
if you do need your friends to help you boost a post or pray for you when you are discouraged, do it. Ask the Lord for advice on your journey. Like what is your journey supposed to look like? What's your goals? I thought about that before I went in. I didn't
mm.
Some people dive in and that's great.
Yeah.
But I really had a vision first,
Yeah.
and then I stuck to it.
Yeah. Excellent advice. Thank you, Nova. I so appreciate you spending the time with me today. And
Thank you
okay,
for
let
having
me
me.
reiterate. We have Liberated. It's coming out at the end of June,
Yes.
2026. But
Yeah.
prior to that, get yourselves the series, Calculated, Simulated, Activated. I guarantee you,
Mhm.
you're going to love them. If you've got young people in your life too, this is an excellent series to hand to them. They'll get lost in it and they'll find themselves in it as well. It's a beautiful
Oh, I love
series.
that.
Yeah.
Thank
So thanks so much for your time, Nova. Sure appreciate you.
thank you, Wendy, for having me. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, good. All right, friends. As always, I love and appreciate you too, listeners. Blessings and peace to you. Shalom, shalom.